In today's video, I'm working on the wood grain effect. This is the seat and the structure for the Mack tanker I'm building. Now this is the floor, and of course it has wood grain pattern on it, so that was pretty easy to paint with the wood grain. This is the box that the bench seat sits on. Of course it was originally red plastic, and I painted it gray primer, and I wanted it to look like wood, so I thought I'll give it a try. If not, I'll paint it red. So over the gray primer I took a couple of colors here. This is a fawn, sort of a beige, light beige, and then a brown, dark brown. And I took a fairly stiff brush and I cut it on a bit of an angle so I can play with it a bit. So what I did, hopefully this is going to show up, I just took a little dab of the, over the gray paint, I took a little dab of the fawn on the brush, and I just dabbed it on the paper here, get a little bit on it, and I just kind of streaked it across with a very stiff brush. On this longer piece you have to go all the way across, just go like that. Be careful not to get too much on the edges with the beige. Then with the dark brown I did the same thing, just it's almost a dry brush, streak that, being careful not to get too much on the edges because it'll build up. Go all the way across like that, you can get up on the edge, and this is the result. You get a wood grain pattern on the smooth plastic by getting the brush streaks in it. So I think that's working out well. Up next I've got the windshield here, and hopefully you'll be able to see. It's got some wood grain in it and a lot of metal, a lot of detail for the metal hinges and brackets on the window. It's basically a wood frame with a lot of metal trim on it. I'll put a couple of pictures up, try and get a better shot. Okay, to do the windshield, it's partly wood, wood frame with a metal window frame. So I've gone over it with the Vallejo gray acrylic primer. I just brushed it on instead of the brown primer because I'm going to try and make it look like wood and metal. And then I've brushed on a little bit of the beige paint for the wood trim. Now I'm going to go over that with the darker brown, try and make it like a wood grain pattern. Okay, so I'm going to try and demonstrate the technique I have here for painting the brown, the wood. I've got this done in gray primer, then a light coat of tan. I've done the other side already. This is the inside of the windshield. It's going to be wood around here and then metal frame around the edges. So I'll go back and dry brush that. That side's the wood's done. So this is the tan on the gray. I've got a stiff brush. I'm going to take a little bit of the dark brown. Just need a little bit on the, sorry, my chair is squeaking something else here. Just like dry brushing, you want to try and get long strokes so it doesn't just put on paint, but it puts on the brush streaks. I'm not trying to cover the yellow, or the beige rather, just to add to it. It looks like this wood is all wood frame here with metal rivets. So maybe I'll go back over that later with the silver or gunmetal or something to highlight the metal part. It looks like there's rivets here and some little rivets in here. So that's basically to give it a wood effect. Maybe to even highlight it a little bit more, I could do a small black wash, but because there's no grain in the plastic, I don't want to take a chance of messing it up and just covering it over. So that's that. So now I've taken the gunmetal craft paint and a very small brush and gone around the edge of the windshield, highlighted the bolts and the metal frame and the hinges, the outside. This is probably I think this is the inside of the windshield with the wood trim. So I think that came out, I'm happy with that. I like the way that looks. Just have to remember to seal it now. So this part of the tanker holds the tank on, and since the frame is going to be metal, I thought this would be wood. So it was gray primer, smooth gray primer. So I took my stiff bristle brush and just basically dry brushed some beige acrylic paint on. Went on a little stiff and streaky, but that's what we want. We want the streaks to be the wood grain pattern. So what I'll do next is go over it with my stiff brush again with the dark brown. And I'm just using it's called fawn, it's a beige, and I'll go over it now with the dark brown, and that should make it look like wood. And because the plastic was smooth, the stiff brush strokes from the thick paint, that'll create the grain. So stay tuned. So here's the tank frame with the dark brown dry brush on it. You sort of see the wood grain effect.